On the first Christmas Eve of World War I, soldiers from both sides emerged into the frozen mud of no man's land to share greetings and holiday treats. The ceasefire allowed men from both sides to honor their dead with a momentary truce, burying those they had been fighting just days before. Amidst the chaos of battle, the shared sounds of Silent Night filled the air as men from opposing sides sang carols to each other across the lines. In the silence of the night on Christmas Eve 1914, soldiers from opposing trenches emerged into no man's land to share a moment of truce and humanity. During this fragile peace, soldiers took time to honor the fallen by burying them properly, a shared act of respect that transcended national boundaries. In several sectors, the ceasefire brought unexpected joy as soldiers engaged in impromptu games of football, symbolizing a temporary escape from the horrors of war. On Christmas Eve 1914, soldiers from both sides emerged into the desolate area between trenches to share holiday treats, a momentary reprieve from hostilities. The temporary ceasefire allowed soldiers to bury their fallen brothers who had been lying between the lines for weeks or months, marking a solemn moment of shared grief and humanity. Amidst the horror of war, these men found solace in their shared humanity, honoring their dead with respect and compassion. Soldiers from both sides exchanged tokens of goodwill, forging an unexpected bond amid the mud and barbed wire. Christmas carols rang out across no man's land as soldiers on both sides sang to celebrate the holiday. A moment of shared humanity allowed both sides to honor those who had lost their lives in the brutal war. Amidst the horrors of war, soldiers from both sides paused to shake hands, acknowledging each other's shared humanity despite the conflict that divided them. Soldiers took the opportunity to bury their fallen comrades who had lain unattended for weeks or months between the lines. Small gestures of goodwill, like the sharing of decorations, brought a flicker of hope and warmth to the dark winter landscape. The men share a moment of quiet respect for each other, their war-torn surroundings stark reminders of the horrors they have endured. Amidst the ceasefire, soldiers from opposing trenches take time to honor fallen comrades by giving them proper burials under a shared sense of humanity. The soldiers share meager Christmas gifts, forging an unlikely bond across the divide that separates them, symbolizing a temporary ceasefire's spirit of goodwill. In the stillness of midnight on Christmas Eve, enemies laid down their arms and met across no man's land to share a moment of humanity. Amidst the ceasefire, the men buried their dead, giving each fallen soldier the dignity denied by war's relentless pace. In an act of spontaneous compassion, enemies shared their scarce holiday treats, symbolizing a fleeting but profound moment of peace. On Christmas Eve, soldiers from opposing trenches shared meager holiday treats to honor the spirit of peace that the season brings. The truce allowed men to give proper burials to those who had fallen in no man's land, a somber act of shared humanity amidst conflict. Despite the hostility of war, the night air was filled with the harmonious sounds of Silent Night as soldiers sang together, bridging divides through music. Amidst the silence of night, soldiers from both sides stepped into no man's land, extending their hands and sharing cigarettes as an act of peace under the watchful eyes of their silent commanders. The truce allowed for the respectful burial of soldiers who had lain between the lines for weeks. Both sides cooperated, showing mutual respect despite being enemies in war. Spontaneous football matches emerged across several sectors, uniting soldiers momentarily through the joy of play, even if there were no proper rules or equipment to follow.
Soldiers on both sides exchanged meager holiday treats as a symbol of mutual respect and camaraderie, sharing what little they had amidst the devastation of war.
The truce allowed for a rare moment of dignity as men from opposing forces came together to honor their dead, a shared respect for the fallen. Spontaneous football matches broke out across the lines, a momentary escape from reality where laughter and sport briefly replaced the grimness of war.
Under the cloak of darkness, soldiers from opposing sides stepped out into no man's land to greet each other with a shared sense of humanity and mutual respect.
Gifts were exchanged, small tokens of goodwill that bridged the gap between enemies on this extraordinary Christmas Eve. In this fragile truce, both armies laid to rest fallen comrades who had lain undisturbed for weeks due to the relentless fighting. On the frosty night of Christmas Eve 1914, soldiers from opposing trenches emerged into no man's land to share holiday treats and exchange greetings under the fragile truce of goodwill. Soldiers used the temporary ceasefire to honor their dead by laying them to rest in a shared act of solemn respect.
Amidst the chill of the night, the sound of Silent Night resonates across no man's land, sung in unison by both British and German soldiers.
Amidst the chaos and darkness of war, these men found a brief moment to bridge the divide with simple acts of kindness. Soldiers from both sides worked together to bury the dead, giving them proper burial rites after weeks of neglect. The night air filled with the sound of Christmas carols sung in unison, a powerful reminder of shared humanity and common bonds. On Christmas Eve, enemies laid down arms to greet each other as brothers in humanity, an act that defied the madness of war. The truce allowed soldiers to bury their dead who had lain between the lines for weeks or months, offering solace in tragedy.
Spontaneous football matches broke out across no man's land, a momentary but cherished reminder of shared humanity amid conflict. Soldiers on both sides shared holiday treats, breaking bread across enemy lines despite their differences.
The truce allowed soldiers to bury their fallen comrades who had lain between the lines for weeks or months.
The night air filled with the melodies of Silent Night and other beloved carols, uniting soldiers through shared music and spirit.
Amidst the chaos of war, these soldiers found a moment to recognize the humanity in one another, sharing simple tokens and greetings on this frosty Christmas morning. The sound of Silent Night floats across no man's land, uniting soldiers in song as they momentarily forget the horrors of war. With shared sorrow, they honor their dead, laying them to rest with dignity, regardless of which uniform they wore on this earth. On Christmas Day 1914, soldiers laid down their arms to greet each other and share small tokens of peace amidst the horrors of war.
The truce allowed men to honor their dead comrades with proper burials, a poignant moment of shared humanity amidst the chaos.
Spontaneous football matches broke out as an unexpected expression of brotherhood, symbolizing a temporary suspension of hostility. In pockets across the Western Front, soldiers found brief respite from the horrors of battle through small acts of kindness and camaraderie. For one night only, the enemies became mourners for their shared loss, burying the dead who had lain unburied through weeks of relentless fighting. The legacy of the Christmas truce endures as a reminder that even in the darkest times, humanity can break through the barriers of war to seek peace and understanding. In the aftermath of that miraculous Christmas truce, soldiers on both sides returned to their trenches knowing they had shared a moment of peace amidst the chaos of war. The truce allowed soldiers to honor their dead with proper burials, a solemn reminder of the human cost of war. The Christmas truce of 1914 serves as an enduring symbol of hope and humanity in times of conflict, inspiring future generations to seek peace. The truce allowed for a momentary peace to bury the dead who had lain between the lines, their sacrifice marked only by makeshift crosses.
The exchange of gifts and the shared warmth of camaraderie broke through the frosty winter air, symbolizing a brief moment of humanity amidst chaos.
Though brief, the Christmas truce of 1914 remains an enduring symbol of hope and humanity's capacity for peace, even amidst the darkest times of conflict.